Welcome to Depression Proof Your Life Live, a space for honest conversations about mental health, mental wellness, recovery, and resilience. Here, we explore how communication, environment, and mindset work together to move us from silence to strength. I'm Marion Mills, and I created DPYL out of my own journey through mental illness, addiction, and recovery. These conversations are about breaking stigma, finding support, and reminding you that you are not alone. If tonight's conversation brings up heavy emotions for you, please step away and reach out for support. Call or text 988 or call 911. Let's begin. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much. Welcome to Depression Proof Your Life Live. Please help me welcome my guest this evening, Maurice Scott. He is a proud native Washingtonian, working in emergency management, helping communities prepare for and respond to public health crises. Not only that, he's a talented voice actor, an art collector, a photographer, and world traveler. His stunning photography has been seen and featured in books and magazines. Recently, he returned to one of his earliest passions, music, taking piano and vocal lessons to continue growing in his creativity. His personal philosophy is simple yet powerful. Life should be savored, a precious gift to be unwrapped and enjoyed. His story is one also of deep resilience. He's overcome both physical and mental abuse and serious health challenges that once left him on his deathbed. At 19 years old, doctors told him that he wouldn't live to see 20. And yet, 36 years later, he's here with us, thriving, surviving, and inspiring others live beyond limitation. Please help me welcome and wish an early happy birthday to Maurice Scott. How are you doing this evening?
I am well. How are you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. So glad to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I know that before we started, you were saying that you were just getting over a cold over COVID, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I was up in New York. I went to I went to see a play, and earlier during the day, I went to the No King's March to take pictures, and I
Okay.
think I caught it there.
Right.
And so that evening, I was feeling kind of bad, and then Sunday, I felt a little worse. Monday, that was it.
Well, I'm glad that you feel better to be with us tonight. And not only that, of course, your birthday is on the 25th, correct?
Yes, coming up Saturday.
Yes. Yes. And the reason I don't know if you remember, but the reason I remember your birthday is because my uncle, hi, Uncle Willie, happy early birthday if you're watching. But yes, my uncle's birthday is on the 25th as well.
I remember you telling me.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. Again, I really appreciate you for agreeing to be on the show.
You're welcome.
I love talking. I love this platform and being able to talk to people because, of course, everyone has a story and we never know what someone has been through until we hear it directly from them, unless we know them personally. So can you tell us, I guess, the source of your trauma, when it started, and how long you actually had to endure it?
I think I know a lot of it started when I was a kid. Excuse me. I just didn't recognize it.
Okay.
I think I just learned to accept it as being normal until I got older and I realized that it wasn't. And I was actually with my cousin recently, and he was telling me about things that happened when I was younger. Some of it I didn't really remember. I guess I just probably blocked it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always one of those kids that was different. And I think my family suspected that I was a young gay man at the time, or a kid, that I was probably going to be gay.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So they treated me that way. My cousin was telling me that, my uncles used to haze me a lot when I was a kid, from a very young age.
Right.
And I just kind of thought it was just them being men, and then really realized that it was hazing in a sense.
Yeah.
I noticed that they didn't treat the other kids the same way, or the other male kids rather, but they treated me differently. My mother, same way. She actually treated me really badly as well. So I think that's when it started. The other thing is too with my mother, which I found out later in life, and this kind of made sense. Um, Both she and my father were not together. At one
Okay.
point she wanted to get married. He didn't. He wanted to go back overseas. He lived in the UK, he lived in Spain, and he lived in France, a few other
Okay.
places. He hated the United States. So the fact that that didn't happen, I think she resented him for it and took it out
Mhm.
on me a lot of times.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, Instead of raising me fully, being with her full time as a kid, I was shuffled around, to grandparents, to aunts and uncles.
Oh,
So up
okay.
until I was about 13, I had gone to, well, I lived with my grandparents. I had lived with four different people at that time, five different people at that time.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So I think
And
also my grandfather and my uncles resented me for that as well. Because there were a lot of little things that happened when I was a kid. Uh, and I didn't realize, besides being hazed, that they were probably taking out their frustration of my father on me as well. There were incidents like with my grandfather. We could be just sitting at a dinner table and he would just smack me. Um, Same thing with my uncles. One of my uncles, I remember he had come down. I was staying with my grandparents at the time, and he had come over, and my grandmother had just fixed dinner. And she's like, "Well, he doesn't need to eat. He just had dinner." And he started questioning her about it, and then found out that I had dinner with some friends that lived down the street. And at that time, I had grown
mm,
up in all white neighborhoods. So
okay.
the fact that I had dinner down the street at someone's house that was white, that was a big issue for him.
Wow.
So he smacked the living daylights out of me and then just went off the handlebars.
Right.
Um, so it's a lot of little things like that growing up.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a lot. And you kept referencing your cousin, right?
Yes.
You said that, I guess, was it a conversation with your cousin that made you realize that as you got older that what you thought was normal wasn't normal? Is that why?
Well,
Uh,
no, this was a recent conversation.
oh,
Um,
okay.
my cousins, their mom just passed away. And we were
Okay.
just, reminiscing and talking about, our childhood.
Yeah.
Um, and that was one of the things that came up.
Wow. Were you surprised with some of the things that he remembered that you couldn't recall, or vice versa? Certain things that you recalled that he didn't remember?
A little. I won't say surprised. It was
Hmm.
just like, oh, wow. It just brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And not only memories, but some anger as well. Anger that I thought I had gotten rid of.
Wow. No, I appreciate that. Self-awareness is so important, and it's important, and it's good that you were aware of that and could actually admit, like, yeah, I was still angry, and just needing to process through that. So, of course, in the intro mentioned doctors actually saying that you weren't going to make it to 20. Um, how do you think facing your own mortality at such a young age actually changed your view on life and healing and forgiveness?
Hmm. I think because of a lot of the things that I went through growing up, I went through a dark phase in my life where I was listening
Okay.
to a lot of alternative music, a
Yeah.
lot of gothic music. I had black fingernails, black
Okay.
lipstick, black eyeshadow.
Okay. Hmm.
And I think that was a cry out for help.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoyed the music, I think it was somewhat of a cry out for help because one of the incidents I think that led up to that whole experience at 19 was I was molested as a kid.
Mm.
Um, and out of that molestation, I found out that I had become HIV positive. And so I was molested as a Boy Scout when I was 8 and 9 years old.
Wow.
Um, I found out when I was 14 that I was positive. So the doctors were saying at that time, because of the sensitivity of the test, that most likely it happened like 5, 6, 7 years earlier. And the only time that I had been sexually active was when I was molested rather. And that
Yeah.
was my Boy Scout leader when I was 9 years old.
Mm.
When I was 14, I also had another incident where I was raped at gunpoint at the metro station. Um,
Mm. Wow.
so, kind of fast forwarding to when I was 19, I started experiencing a lot of complications. I had no idea what was going on. Ended up going to the doctor and found out that it was all because of HIV. Um, and at the time, they really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But it was just at a point that it was really bad that they told me that I wasn't going to make it. And this isn't the first time this happened to me. I've had other incidents since then where I'm like, "You're not going to make it through the night." So after that first incident, I did a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
I don't think I handled everything properly.
Let's talk
But
about frozen.
I handled it the best way I could.
Right.
Um, I really didn't have anyone to talk to, so I kind of, did it on my own. A lot of reading, a lot of listening to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the second incident, I was a little bit older,
Right.
and this is where I'd gone into complete kidney failure.
Mm.
I didn't know before that, prior to that, but the doctors told me again I wasn't going to make it through the night, and now I'm here. And then the next incident was when I had COVID back
Oh.
in 2020. I had spent 3 weeks in London and Paris for Christmas and New Year's. Came back, had surgery on my arm for what's called for ABM, which is arterial venous malformation. Surgery went south. Um, I was ended up, being placed in a coma for 2 weeks. Had a stroke. Had to go through physical therapy to relearn to walk because I couldn't walk.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, that's just. I think it's all made me stronger. But
Yeah.
what did happen with COVID, it put me in a mental space where I kind of reevaluated everything. It kind of
Okay.
sent me to a little bit of a depression, I guess. Excuse me, a little bit of a depression, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of things from the past started coming back stronger. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I'll just say it just put me in a dark space mentally.
And you said that this was around the time that around 2020, around the time that you had COVID,
Yeah, I had
is
COVID
when
in
those.
January of 2020 before they knew what
Mhm.
was going on.
Oh, that was before. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was actually one of the first people. Matter of fact, here at Washington Hospital Center, I was the first person there that they saw with COVID.
Okay.
Then they
Wow.
started seeing people coming in after me with the same symptoms. Then they did a little bit more research. So they actually used my case as a study on how to treat people for COVID.
Yeah. Wow. That is a lot to unpack. You know, when you talk about all the things that you went through as a child, and then, of course, everything that you're still having to endure because of what happened to you as a child,
Mhm.
um, how have you been able to work through um, the feelings of anger and frustration and I'm using the word frustration, but the anger and how have you been able to process all of that and still be what I have seen since knowing you, a very caring, compassionate, very mild mannered. You don't seem to be hanging on to a lot of anger, which is a beautiful thing. Can you speak about on that a
Thank you.
little? Yeah, absolutely. Can you speak on that?
I just realized that life goes on. I used to question a lot, why
Hmm.
me? Why am I
Yeah,
going through all this?
yeah,
And I blamed myself a lot for everything. I was always hard on myself. And that's one thing that my therapist told me that I need to give myself grace because I wasn't doing that. I was always extremely hard on myself. I would be lenient on someone else and beat myself up for the same thing.
mm,
And a lot
yeah,
of my life had been like that. I think I think in a sense, I became very protective of other people as well.
Yeah.
because I didn't want to see anyone else go through some of the
Go
same
through
things that
what
I went through,
you mhm.
or feel the way that I felt
Yeah.
back then, or even currently.
Mhm.
Um, because I just felt betrayed. I felt like
Mm.
I was never protected growing up.
Yeah.
Um, I came from, my mom telling me that she never wanted me. Um, my father, not being around because of the whole situation between the two of them.
Right.
And then when he did, come around, I felt that I was betrayed by him as well because of what him and my mom did. Um, Once she told him that I was gay, and I really haven't mentioned this, and I don't talk a lot about it.
Of course, yeah.
Uh,
Only share what of course, what you're comfortable with, you know?
no, I mean it's fine, but one of the things that happened was, and this was shortly after I had met him. Well, I should say met him because I had met him when I was younger, when I was a kid, but
Of
I didn't
course,
see
but
him
kinda
many,
reintroduced,
many
right,
years.
when you were older.
Right. I had
Yes.
spoken to him on the phone, but I didn't see him
Mhm.
again until my teenage years.
Okay.
Um, Somehow they had cooked up a scheme to make me straight. So my mom took me up to him to see him for the weekend and just left me there. And their plan to make me straight was to have sex with a woman.
Yeah.
So basically, my father, I don't know what he gave me. I just know that I wasn't myself afterwards, and forced me to have sex with my stepmother. So I blamed myself. That was one of the things I blamed myself for most.
Okay.
Um, so when it came to other people, I just I just couldn't see anyone else hurt. That was my big thing. Knowing
Yeah.
everything that I've been through, the pain that I dealt with and I still deal with, it's hard for me to see anyone else going through that.
Wow. Wow. That's well, a lot of what you're saying just reminds me of some of the things that I witnessed or would hear about when I was a CPS worker. And as you say, there were many times that sometimes people think, oh, that's not normal. You can't say what someone else's normal is because
Right.
in your world, it's like all of this is normal. All of this is normal. And because you were much older when that happened, uh, how I don't- how were you able to process it?
I think I processed it by running away from a lot of things.
Okay.
Because I came,
Mhm.
excuse me, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Because I came from a family that was somewhat successful, both my mother and my
Okay.
father. Um, and come from a family of attorneys and engineers, and people are,
Yeah.
they're doing well. I
Hmm.
think I ran away from a lot of that, and I stopped associating. I stopped associating with other African Americans
Mm.
that were similar to my parents or similar to my family. If that
That
makes
makes
sense.
Oh, absolutely. You want to be as far away from anything that resembled them, reminded you of it, certainly. So yeah, that definitely
Right.
makes sense. It just speaks it sounds like a more mature way of going through your goth phase, you know? It's like as a child not really understanding or knowing how to a lot of times, you have those dark phases and but yeah, I was going to ask, and this is of course not one of the questions I was going to ask, but it just makes me think, where do you, where do you think, or do you think any of your past trauma has anything to do with your love for travel and photography and just the arts? Do you think that has any connection, anything to do with it?
It may, but this is something I've always been interested in since I was a kid. I grew
Okay.
up playing 14 different instruments. I was one of
Oh,
those kids that I would get up in the mornings and on the weekends, and I would go in the living room and sit down and just open the encyclopedia and just start reading. I was
okay.
always fascinated by culture, by the
Hmm.
arts, by
Hmm.
entertainment. always wanting to learn about other people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think because of that, I didn't want to go out and play sports. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that created a little bit of a dynamic tension with the men in my family and even with
Yes.
the women because of that.
Yeah.
I'd rather sit down and practice the piano or practice the violin instead of being out with the other kids playing football. Um, and I was always like that as a kid. I was
Right.
just a very creative kid. You know,
Hmm.
my grandmother, I used to use her sewing machine. I would make clothing.
Wow.
My grandmother, she allowed me to. I would sit down and I would do her hair. I wasn't a very flamboyant kid.
Right.
I had a deep voice as a kid. But I was different, and I don't think they knew what to do with me. I don't think they knew how to understand how. I don't. Excuse me. I don't think they knew how to understand me as well.
Yeah, I love that you pointed some of the things that you pointed out. I saw a post recently. It was a young man, a young black man, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing here. He said, "Black parents, stop putting your kids in football and basketball. Find out what your child is interested in." And apparently he was responding to a previous post because a lot of people, I guess, were attacking him for saying don't put
Okay.
them in football. And he was just kind of explaining. He said I'm not saying that you can't. He said, but every child is not made for football. Every child is not made for soccer. For every child is not made for sports. Give them the opportunity to allow yourself the opportunity to learn your child, know
Right.
what they're interested in. And it sounds like if and please correct me if
Excuse me.
I'm wrong. Um, it sounds like you're out of everyone, it sounds like your grandmother was a safe haven
She
because
was. She
it
was. My
sounds like,
grandmother was my heart.
for her to allow you to do her hair and jump on her sewing machine, she
She
allowed
even
you
taught.
to be you.
She even taught me how to cook and how to crochet and knit when it was time to
She
garden. My
she
grandmother
understood.
was one that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a kid. I loved to build things. I love being creative.
Mhm.
Um, And one of the things I said when I was a kid, I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to have my own art gallery, and I wanted to have a winery. I didn't really think about it, but I told my coworker that one day, and she's like, "What type of kid says that?" I'm like,
A creative one, right?
"Yeah." I also
Well,
wanted to
yeah,
be
that's
James
not something
Bond.
you
So
a and, even if we did hear kids, I think now things are a little bit differently, but yeah, I think when, time that we were growing up, to hear a kid say, like, "Go over there and play somewhere," like, it would be discounted, honestly, because it's like, "Who says that? Where'd you get that from?" You know?
right,
So,
right,
it's beautiful that your grandmother, and of course, you said that you were raised by your grandparents for those that certain blocks of time. So it's good that you had a safe haven in someone. So of course, when we first talked about, and I don't even think that we were talking. I think you and I were just talking, just as we catch up from time to time.
right.
And you mentioned something about being emotionally numb and talking to your therapist about that. So um, if you could speak on when did you realize that you were emotionally numb or considered to be emotionally numb, or how did that come about? Was that in therapy, or when did you come to realize, and how were you working through that?
It was actually way before therapy,
Okay.
um, because I realized that I didn't have certain emotions and certain feelings about certain things. It seemed like
Mhm.
everything had been cut off in a sense. I know certain things that I used to enjoy, I no longer enjoyed. I won't say I didn't enjoy them. It's just I didn't get the same sense of emotions and feelings that I
Mm.
normally did. Um,
Like, is it safe to say, like, the joy that you used to have associated with those things, maybe
yeah,
did no
like if
longer
a
have?
friend, right? If a friend would pass away, I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
It was like I could say if I had won $1 million, if I won $50 million, I would be just like, oh, okay. Um, that's when I realized that yeah, there's something more going on. Um,
Mm.
I kept saying, maybe I need to talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
And years had gone by before I actually started seeing a therapist because I was like, as black men, we're taught to deal with it, to shake
Yeah.
it off, to deal with it.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's what I'll just do. I'll just deal with it. I've dealt with it this far in my life. I've come this far. I'll
Hmm.
just deal with it.
Right.
Um, yeah. But I'm also writing a book on a lot of my experiences, and it's called Comfortably Numb.
Comfortably numb.
Yes.
Wow. I like that.
I had become extremely, I won't say, I had become extremely comfortable in my numbness throughout life.
Yeah. Eh, eh, it's understandable because it sounds like it's something that you learned at a very early age
Yeah.
because you
I think,
didn't have anyone to protect. So it's like you had to build up a mechanism to protect yourself.
right. And I was just going to say that now that you just said that, I think I lived so long in a survival and protective mode that it
Yeah.
didn't afford me, especially as I got older, um, to live a certain way. And you would think as you get older, life becomes easier. But no, I held on to that protective mode and that survival mode for so long
Yeah.
that it was just second nature. Excuse me, it was
Of
second nature.
course. Yeah. And that's understandable. Um, how where are you in your book process?
I'm so I'm I don't want to say I'm at the beginning because I've been writing for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but still early into the phase,
Okay.
into the book phase.
Okay. But that's exciting. Ha- have have you found it to be therapeutic thus far?
Yes, yes. I I had been toying with the idea years ago because other people were telling me that I should write a book that know a little bit about what's been going on with me. And
Right.
even my cousin has said, I think you were meant to be a preacher, but not from the pulpit. So I
Mm.
was like, but then I was thinking on the other hand, no one probably wants to hear about the things that I've been through. Um, and it may be too much for some people. So I kind of let it go. I just put it on the back burner. But I just said recently, within the last year, no, I just need to do it. I need to do it.
Good for you. But yeah, the friend that told you that you are going to, meant to be a preacher and just not in play. I agree with that on so many different levels. There's ministry everywhere, and there's room for ministry everywhere. Not necessarily, in a church. Um, so have you?
And I should add also, since you said
Mhm.
that, I grew up in a very, very religious household. So that had a lot to do with it.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That, of course,
And that,
not. Hmm?
no, I'm saying I've tried to give, my family and my parents grace because of that. My father wasn't extremely religious, but my mom and her side of the family were. And I've
Mhm.
tried to give them grace because of that. And I found it to be difficult, but also because of the time period and how they grew up.
Yeah.
I know they had to deal with a lot of racism, um, especially being who they were at that time. Like I had one uncle that was put in jail because he had a yo-yo, a toy yo-yo, and the white kid said that he stole it from him, but my uncle didn't. It was his. My family was constantly having to go through stuff like that. Well, my uncles and my aunts. Um, so I know it was difficult for them,
Mm.
but there gets to a point in life where you can't. You have to make changes,
Yeah.
and you can't treat your children the way that you think they should be. How should I put it? You can't use your children. I don't want to say it's punishment, but make them pay for the things that you went through.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
I think that was very well said. Um, I don't know how often you look at different things on social media, and I know that the algorithm have a lot to do with it. But just because of my social worker brain and heart, um, I love anything that's spoken word. But I've heard a lot of that. I've heard whether it's a spoken word or just someone kind of telling their story. Um, And the grace that you say that you try to give your family, your parents, um, the all the people that hurt you or did not protect you. Um, I always look at things that way. That's why I can certainly understand, even when it comes to children. I always believe that there's a reason behind someone's actions. And like you said,
Right.
sometimes it's, let's say, for example, a single parent is struggling to make ends meet. They're frustrated with, whatever they have to put up with at work, frustrated with what they have to put up with at work, frustrated with whatever they're dealing with, and maybe abusive to the kids. The kids now are acting out at school, or getting into fight. All of those,
Excuse me.
it's a domino effect. Um,
I think that's why so many, excuse me, I think that's why so many of the kids on my mom's side of the family are so distant from a lot of the family, from their parents now. Because I've
mm,
had a number of, because of the pressure that's been put on us, because of that, I've had a number of cousins that have had nervous breakdowns. I've had cousins that have just removed, well, pretty much everyone's just pretty much removed themselves from our parents. So, like, we used to have these big family reunions. We don't have those any longer. Um, especially ever since my grandparents died, I think they were the glue that held everyone together.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we aren't the family that we used to be. And I guess we were the family that I thought we were.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh, I just got chills when you said that. I think that that comes with growth, maturity, and just getting older. And we when we heal, we begin to realize, oh, that shouldn't have happened, or and sometimes uh, families do pull apart
right.
because the family that you have the reunion with or have these different get-togethers with are the very reminder of your trauma or your of the
That's
pain.
true. That's
So
true.
it's twofold. Um, have you,
Can I
and
just
of
add
course,
one thing to that?
absolutely, yeah.
And I'll just say, sort of answer one of your questions from earlier and just talking
Hmm.
about the family. I believe in breaking curses.
Amen.
And sometimes, in order to break that curse and to break that cycle, you have to remove yourself from certain situations. I love my
Mm,
family, but I know that I can only deal with a certain amount of them,
okay.
or certain individuals, and I can only deal with them for a certain amount of time. There are other ones that I can't deal with,
Yeah.
and I won't deal with them, especially like some of my uncles. Um, Even up until 4 or 5 years ago, I was still dealing with the same type of mental abuse from them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had an uncle on his hospital bed. He was still trying to abuse me mentally. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're at death's door and you're still doing the same things.
Same thing. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
now the rest of the family wonders why I don't come around you, why I won't deal with you, why when I
Yeah.
see you, I don't speak to you. I turn the other way and walk away.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, in order to break those curses, you just have to remove yourself from certain situations sometimes. And family is not always family.
Mm. I love I love that. That could be that could be another one of your like. Yeah, you sometimes you have to remove yourself from situations, and if that means separating yourself, not coming around at all, or
Right.
knowing when to say when. It's like I've had enough. So I think you kind of touched on it, but uh, Sandy said, "Good for you for setting
It's
boundaries,
Sandy.
and setting boundaries with family is hard." And it really is. I'm glad that you brought that point up, Sandy, because it is.
It
And and
is.
and I think one half of it is because we're so used to the norm.
Right.
You normally do this, you normally do that, you normally go here, you normally. It's hard to break that, especially when if you're the one who is trying to set those boundaries, you're looked at like, why?
Right.
Oh, you think you think you're better than us now? You know.
Yeah. And it's like when I would talk about certain situations, I would try to be open and honest.
Yeah.
Like I would talk about things that my grandfather would do or things that
Yeah.
my mother would do.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't you dare talk about them.
It's like this is
That's
my
not
truth,
true.
right?
Right.
This is my truth. Yeah.
I had to grow up dealing with this. I had to grow, I lived through this.
Yeah.
You weren't around.
Yeah.
So how dare you tell me that I didn't experience what I experienced?
Yeah.
And you experienced some of the same things too when you were younger, especially from my grandfather. Because
Mm,
I know the things that some of you went through.
yeah.
So the fact that you're in denial says a lot to me. And you're just trying to keep an image. So yeah. And by keeping
Mm.
that image, you perpetuate the same situations over and over and over again.
That is so important. I think
Yeah.
sometimes people don't want to. You want to respect your yeah, exactly.
That's why
And
I held on so long for telling my things that I've been through because I wanted to respect them.
mhm,
I didn't want to involve them either.
yeah,
Um, but I'm like, I've got to live for me. I
yeah.
can no longer allow someone else to control me.
And with that respect, I don't hear, again, as I said earlier about you, I don't hear anger. What I hear is I have to. I now know how to protect me, and if protecting me has to distance myself away from those that I love, I don't hold any ill will towards you. I don't have any hatred for you, but I know I can't be around you.
Right. Right. It
Yeah.
takes more energy to hate and to be around those negative forces than just go on with your life.
Mm.
I've got a lot more life to live, and I don't want them complicating it. I don't want
Yeah.
anyone complicating it that doesn't have to be in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um, it's repressed and oh wow, it's repressed and now and secrets to carry out. Yeah.
Yes.
And you kind of touched on that earlier. The fact that people that aren't that are in denial about what happened. Like, why are you saying something about what I'm sharing about my experience? You experienced the same thing, and again, you may be processing it differently, but this is my truth. This is my
Right.
truth.
Right.
And don't and
And,
it's almost like trying to suppress your your voice, literally.
and something I was going to say earlier when you were asking me
Mhm.
about being emotionally numb. I've always wanted to do voice acting, something I've wanted for a very long time.
Okay.
And prior to COVID, things were a little bit different. And I think COVID kind of pushed me over the edge a little bit, where that numbness kind of took over a lot of things. And I
Oh,
realized that in voice acting, that it was affecting my performance sometimes
yeah.
because I didn't have emotions. I wasn't feeling. I was
Oh,
trying
wow,
to
I
feel.
see. Yes.
I was trying to feel, but I wasn't feeling. Um,
Wow.
and there's a big difference in trying to give the sound of being emotional as opposed to just being emotional.
You know, I have always been and still am one that wears my emotions on my sleeve. Like I cry when I'm happy, I cry when I'm sad. If I see someone else, I remember one day I was driving down the street, like I was on the highway and I saw this woman crying and I literally was like, "Are you okay?" Like like just always connected with people. And I remember there have been times that I have definitely just wished that I wasn't so overly emotional about things. Um, I'm one of those people that I cry when I'm sad, but I also cry when I'm angry. I
Right.
cry when I'm hurt. All those different things. But because of that, I certainly understand and can relate to what you're saying because a lot of when I have talked to casting directors or something like that and share my story, my background, they're like, oh, like I remember I had a client one day, they were like, do you mind if I tell them she used to be a social worker? Like that's what you hear in her
Okay.
voice. You can hear it. Um, so I can certainly understand. I can certainly understand how not having that emotional connection can affect, like you said, if you've if you it's voice acting, but that's where that authentic, looking for that authentic sound, that authentic experience, that lived experience. Like you said, if you don't have the emotion that goes with it, you
Right.
can you can try to sound like you're connected, or you can try to sound like you're really connected. Like, it's like those two things. Like, I feel like I'm sounding really connected with you. I feel the pain. And it's like, not quite there. No, I really feel
Right.
your pain. Like, it so how have you
It's,
been able to work through that, or are you still working on it?
I'm still working through it, but I
Mm,
realized that, and part of this had to do with I used to get a lot of comments about my voice and people saying you're using your voice and not your emotions. And I was like, I'm not using my voice. I'm not even thinking about my voice.
right.
So there was more there that people didn't realize.
Mm,
Um, and I think that's something that I've seen a lot of people just refer to as you're using your voice instead of getting to know the person and what they're going through. Because in my mind, I always said a number of times, I hear this in my mind, but it's not coming out of my voice.
yeah. Hmm.
And that's because I wasn't able to let those emotions out
Mm,
effectively. And
yeah.
now that I'm aware of where I am in life, um, and those feelings, it's been wonderful. Um, Things have changed quite a bit for me.
That's amazing because, uh,
Well, I should
and
say
I
the other
and
thing is
no, 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 go ahead.
because also I think I said at one point that I've never been this uncomfortable with my voice as I have when I got into voiceovers. And
Yeah.
this phase of voiceovers, when I did voiceovers years ago, I was fine. But
Yeah.
now it was a whole new ball game. And I think people constantly talking about my voice, it put me in a space where it's like I was in the limelight in a sense. And I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah. Right.
So mentally, I think that kind of pushed me back in the shell as well.
Right. Because it sounds like the confidence that you had prior to, and it's like, wait a minute. So, like, you don't feel like there's a disconnect, but if all of these people are saying, you know, something about your voice, and I think it's similar to what, when I first got into voiceover, a handful of people would say, "Oh, you must like the sound of your voice," and I'm like, I actually I don't. I've never liked my voice. I've never liked my voice. So it was like, I'm not trying to, but again, it's that self-awareness and the healing that you're actually going through, and you can hear the difference coming out in your voice, in
Mhm.
your voice acting. I'm sure that is a welcoming experience,
It is. It is.
because the more emotion that you can bring to your reads, it speaks to the healing that you're in.
True. Because one of the things they always ask, how did that feel? How did that feel after your
Yes.
after your read?
Right.
Excuse me. And I'm just like, that was okay. When honestly, I didn't feel anything. And that's how it was a lot of my life.
Right.
Um, my father used to get on me about this all the time. A lot of people used to get on me all the time about this. They were asking me how I'm doing. I'm like, oh, I'm great. I'm great. I could be on my deathbed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm great. There have been times, like one time I went on a cruise and I ended up getting sepsis.
Uh,
So no one saw me for 2 days because I was locked in my room under the covers. I'd
wow.
lost maybe about 40 pounds. So I
Wow.
crawled out one day to go to breakfast, and everybody was like, they thought I got off the boat.
Right.
Um, they said, like, we thought you met someone and got off the boat. I'm like, what type of guy do you think I am? No. But here I am, holding onto the walls, trying to crawl to breakfast, holding on to like whatever I can to walk. And they're
Right.
like, "You're not well. You don't look well." I'm like, "Oh, I'm great. I'm fine. Just eat.
Mhm.
I'm fine."
Yeah.
Two of my friends actually picked me up from the table and drugged me to the doctor's office. And they did some tests like, "Oh, you have sepsis."
Wow. Like you could have
But
died. Try.
yeah, the doctor basically said, "Yeah, you would have died if we hadn't treated this."
Wow.
And all the time, I'm like, "I'm great. I'm fine. Let's go."
I was gonna one of the questions that I had here, but you've definitely touched on it. What role has self-awareness or therapy played in helping you understand and rebuild your emotional world? And I think you've definitely touched on that. And can I do you mind me asking how long you've
Sure.
been in therapy?
It's only been a few months now.
Oh,
Yeah, it's only been a few months.
is this your first time being in therapy at all, or you kind
No,
of
this is my
what?
second time.
Okay,
My first time, I was a teenager, and that was after my mom found out that I was gay.
okay,
Um, she tried to commit me because of that. So we ended up seeing a therapist, and she got upset because the therapist told her that she needed to come back and that I was fine. So that was the only other
mm,
time that I've seen a therapist.
wow. So so what made you get into therapy now?
It's something I've been thinking about for years.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, but then I always found excuses.
Okay.
It's like, well, I didn't like the school that the therapist went through too. I don't like the type of therapy that they do. I don't like her or his, qualifications. I will
Right.
always find something to say that I didn't like them.
Okay.
So I'm just doing it.
Okay. I got a message saying that my battery saver was on, but I have 30%, so I'm
Oh,
good.
okay.
I usually have it plugged in, but I didn't plug it in today. Wow. But no, I think that's beautiful. And again, your self-awareness is and your honesty. I really appreciate, especially, and of course, I told you uh, when we were just talking and what you were sharing with me, and I told you, I don't want you to share anything, um, especially being in therapy and working on exactly what you're coming on the show to talk about. It was very important for me to make sure that you were comfortable and that you were going to be okay. That you didn't talk about anything, but I in hearing your story and knowing you and even just hearing you talk about it, here on the show, I can see I don't see emotional numbness, or hear it. Uh, and again, I'm just speaking of, the time that I've known you and even sharing, um, especially with everything that you've been through. How has your travel played a part in, um, not so much but how has your travel and you being an art collector and your photography, how is all of that healing for you?
Because it's just part of me.
Okay.
I mean, ever since I was a kid, it's always been a part of me.
Okay.
Um, I loved art. When I was a kid, I would paint, I would draw a lot.
Okay.
I wish I continued with it. Um, but yeah, like even with photography, I was always interested in photography. But ever since I was a kid, I would always get those little disposable cameras and go out shooting,
Yeah.
taking pictures, and then developing them.
Hmm.
Um, even traveling. I think, well, my first trip, my first international trip, I was 6 years old, and
Oh,
we had driven
okay.
across country. You know, we always have our family reunion somewhere in the country. Um, it'll be here in New York, California, Chicago, anywhere.
Right.
But this year we had driven across country to LA. I hung out in LA for like a weekend. And then we drove down to Mexico and then hung out in Mexico for a few days. So that was my first international trip.
Okay.
And excuse me, um, even before, well, I won't say before that, but since then I've always had a travel bug. Because even when I was reading the encyclopedias, I was always
Yeah.
fascinated by
Yeah.
other countries and other cultures.
Fascinated by things that you're reading and want. Okay, that makes sense.
Right, right.
And
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 so
no, go ahead.
I'm always curious about other people, other cultures, their foods, their music, their customs. So travel was always a way to satisfy that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't travel as much as I used to just to travel. Now I have my favorite places that I go, and that main place I love the most is my favorite city, which is Paris.
I was about to say
Because
Paris.
yeah, it just excuse me, it just resonates with my soul.
Yeah.
I think it's a very romantic city. It's a very creative city. It's a very artisanal city. Um, it's a very diverse city. There's a lot of blending of the old and the new. It's one of those
Okay.
cities, either you get it or you don't. And if you get it,
Okay.
you're like, oh my gosh. But if you don't get it, you're still trying to like scratch your head. What is this? It's
Right.
an amazing, absolutely amazing city.
That's a beautiful way of describing it. I love that. What I love about how you answered that question, as far as what role does art play and travel play with your healing?
Mhm.
That is the one thing that all your trauma has been able to take away. Like that's something that's a
Yes.
part, like you said, it's a part of you. It's a part of who you are. It's a part of who God created you in you. And that's the one thing that through all of it, it's not like it was diminished, like, oh, I don't want to travel anymore. It's, your
Right.
heart hasn't been hardened by, I don't want to travel anymore. I don't have a love for photography or art anymore. So it
Well,
sounds like it is and was a safe haven and a safe place.
it was, especially my music, playing music, growing up on
Oh,
different
music.
instruments.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I look at it this way as well. We're all canvases.
Yeah.
And every experience, every opportunity, everything that we've done in life is part of that canvas. It's just paint on that canvas.
Mm.
And we have to
You were just dropping
continue to,
gems. I love it.
yeah, we just have to continue to fill that canvas with our life. That's our story.
I
And we
love
have the
that.
choice of having a blank canvas or filling that canvas up. And I want mine to be full with the paint dripping off of it.
Mm.
So
Oh, I got chills with that. That is wow. Well, my next question was going to be, if someone's listening and may feel like they're living with emotional numbness or, just kind of shut down, what would you tell them? And I think you just said it. Like,
live your life.
live your life.
What happened to you is not about you. It's not you. You're a circumstance of it, a
Mm.
byproduct of it, but it's not you. There's so much more to life to live. And you just have to find a way to navigate through that and be the best you that you can be. That's, I think that's the most I could say. Like you said earlier, life is a gift. Unwrap it, savor it, make the best of it. It's the gifts universe. I mean, it's the universe gift to
Yeah.
you.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Wow.
you.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation, and very heartwarming conversation, as heartbreaking as some of the things that you shared have been. I know I asked you if you had a pet and you said no, but is there, because I usually like to end the show on a note of, with someone sharing their dog or a pet, because a nice way of ending therapy, you don't want to end therapy, and not so much that this is therapy, but I look at it like, after talking about some tough topics, you don't want to end it with those feelings and those harsh emotions. So since you don't have a pet, is there a piece of your art or anything that you would like to share that's really meaningful to you, that kind of brings a smile to your face,
Mhm.
that you can share?
Hmm. Yeah, I will. Actually, this painting, I still have not found this yet. I bought this a few years ago. Um, and I'm just trying to find the right time to hang it.
Okay.
Uh,
As you're grabbing that, Sandy said, yes, live your life. Wow. Wow.
So the story behind this painting
Hmm.
is the artist's name is Ema. He's Nigerian American,
Okay.
and during Trayvon Martin, the whole incident with Trayvon Martin,
Right.
he had created, excuse me, a big painting, and then destroyed it into 19 pieces to symbolize the age of Trayvon.
Right.
And so he
Wow.
created this series based off of that. And
Wow.
he used pieces from the original painting. Like
Oh,
you can
wow. You
see
can see
here,
it. Yes.
he's attached them to this painting and then painted over it. And so
Wow.
you can see there are multiple faces in here also.
Yes. Yes, you
One
can.
here,
Wow.
the big one here. Where did it go? Yeah, there are a few other faces in here as well.
Yeah, that looks like the neck. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. And you say you're just looking for a place to hang it?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where I want to hang it.
Yeah.
I'll show one other piece as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sandy said, wow, what a beautiful piece.
So this is another one of my favorite ones here also.
Wow. Look at the eyes. Like it's like they follow you.
Yes.
And who's the artist on that one?
Oluse. He's also Nigerian American. Oh, he's Nigerian, but he lives in Canada.
Okay.
He's a well-known artist.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love the colors in it.
He does
The
paintings
dark
and these
background
big
and then
sculptures. Yeah, this is wonderful.
and it's very similar it has so many what is it called abstract pieces within the face, that actually makes up the painting.
That's true. That's true.
Wow, that's beautiful. Wow, thank
And
you
the
so
last thing
much.
that
I
brings me
appreciate
joy,
that.
you're
Huh?
welcome. The other thing that brings me so much joy is I'm a frag head. I love
You're a
cooking.
what head?
I'm a I'm a frag head.
A frag.
Frag head.
Frag head. Okay, that's what I thought you
Yeah,
said. A frag head. Okay, please tell us what that is.
FARG.
Uh-huh.
I love perfume. I know guys like to say cologne, but it's really not cologne. Cologne is
Right, because we're
it's a
speaking
weaker
Paris.
version of perfume. Yeah,
Paris. Paris. We're speaking Paris, so yes, it's perfume.
okay. So yeah, there's like the other perfume, and then it goes down. Cologne is like a weaker form of the perfume. It doesn't last very long, and doesn't have as much essential oils in it. But people like to
Really?
say cologne. Yeah. So like, there's like the extrait. There's the eau de perfume. There's the parfum. So yeah, there are different versions of it, but it's actually all perfume. So I collect perfume also. I have probably have like maybe about 50 different bottles now.
Wow. The question is, do you use them?
I do.
Or
I do.
is it one of those things where you don't want to use them? Wow. Wow. You see, this is exactly what world traveling does. Like you educated us, because I never knew that there were levels to, and I did not know that cologne was like the weakest, was like,
It's one of the
that it didn't
weakest.
have
Yeah.
essential oils, and it's one of the weak. Wow. Never a dull moment. But I love how we've actually come to a close. Thank you so much for sharing your art. Thank you for sharing your story. So in the midst of all of that, so I'm going to put up your information. If you could tell people how to contact, if they want to contact you, and then we can close out the show.
Sure. And then also you can find me on Facebook at Maurice Scott. What is my Facebook account?
Okay, Facebook.
Yeah, it's
I'll make sure I add that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's Maurice Scott.
Okay.
And
Yep.
Instagram,
Make sure that I add that.
Okay.
Sandy said, "I get it."
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that was too
I
funny.
actually took perfume making classes here and in Paris years ago. I had
Really?
planned to make my own line. I just never did.
Well, you can still do it though.
That's
I'm sure
true.
that
That
that's
is true.
something, yeah, that it's still being the work for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you for sharing your story. I pray that it, just touches the hearts of whoever may be listening, and just someone that is actually in that same space or has a similar story. That they can actually find healing in what you shared. So, uh, really look forward to some of the gems that you dropped becoming hashtags.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Depression Proof Your Life. Good night,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Good night.
Thanks so much for joining us on Depression Proof Your Life tonight. If this conversation stirred up heavy emotions for you, please reach out for help. Call or text 988 for 24-hour support in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., look up your local crisis helpline. Stay connected with DPYL by following us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And visit depression-prooflife.com for resources, blogs, and to share your story. Your voice may be exactly what someone else needs today. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, healing is possible.